Hi, I want to share this book with you. This is called If I Ran for President. It's written by Stier and illustrated by Lynn Averill. This is told from the perspective of 6 different boys and girls with their perspective on what it might be like if they ran for president. So it's kind of fun. I want to start with one of the first pages in the book and read it because it gives some background to the election. But first I want to show you this. These are the 6 different people who are going to tell the story, and I'll flip back and forth between this and the pages in the story so that I can help you keep track of who is talking at the moment, who is narrating, telling the story as we move through. So this page, I want to read this because this talks about the process of how we run our elections in the United States and just some information, so some background information for us. It's fun to imagine running for the highest office in the land and maybe becoming president of the United States of America. After all, the president is famous, makes lots of important decisions, and lives in a really cool mansion, the White House. There are rules written in our Constitution about who can be president. A person must be 35 years old. So a kid couldn't really be president. Also, a person running for president must be a citizen of the United States who was born in the United States. So not someone who became a citizen by being a naturalized citizen who was born somewhere else and then became a citizen. And they must have lived here for at least 14 years. And that's it. Those are the only requirements for being president. You can be president if you are a man or a woman. You can be president whether your parents were born in the United States or anywhere else in the world. When citizens vote in November every 4 years, they are not voting directly for president and vice president, even though they mark their candidates' names on the ballot. They are voting for a group of people from their state called electors. In December, then, the electors cast their state's official votes, called the electoral votes, for president and vice president. The formal announcement of the winners is not made until January, but usually it's clear on election night in November who has won. Each elector votes for the candidates who won the people's votes, called the popular vote, in his or her state. Each state has a set number of electors, equal to the number of its senators and representatives in Congress. Altogether, there are 538 electors, including 3 for Washington, D.C., even though it isn't a state. When a candidate has received 270 electoral votes, he or she has won the presidential or vice presidential election. This complicated system, which we call the Electoral College, is outlined in the Constitution. Running for president is surely an exhausting but exciting time for a candidate, and who knows, maybe someday you will toss your hat in the ring, which is an expression that we use that means decide to run. You toss your hat in the ring to run for president of the United States of America. And here we have a picture of Claire tossing her hat into the ring. All right, so let's get started on the book. This begins with Ben narrating. Okay? It would be great to run for president of the United States. If I ran for president, I'd hope the people of the United States would choose me for a very important job, the job of leading our country. And I'd hope to follow in the footsteps of past presidents such as George Washington, our first president, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. And those are the presidents whose faces are carved on Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. Ben continues, I'd have to think carefully about my decision to run for president. I would want to know how my family felt about it too, because your family would be involved, and it includes everybody in your family when you run. Then I'd ask myself, am I the best person for the job? Am I ready to work very, very, very hard for my country? Do lots of people believe in me, and will they help me run for office? If I could answer yes to all those questions, then I'd declare my candidacy, which means you put your name forward as a candidate. That means I'd announce if I was interested in the job of President of the United States. If I ran for president, I'd run a campaign to let voters learn all about me. People who thought I would be a good president would donate money or time to help. I'd hire people to work on my campaign, too. Campaigns can make a candidate famous. Soon my name or face would appear on signs, buttons, bumper stickers, and T-shirts. I'd even star in television commercials. Now we shift to a new narrator, and this is Ellie. If I ran for president, I'd work with my political party. That's a group of people who share the same beliefs about how the country should be governed. They support candidates who uphold those ideas. The two major parties are the Democratic Party, their symbol is a donkey, and the Republican Party, their symbol is an elephant. There are other parties too, called third parties. But people besides me would want to be president. The Republican and Democratic parties must choose whom they'll support in the election. In some states, like Iowa, the parties each hold meetings called caucuses, where members pick their favorite candidate. In most states, party members hold an election called a primary, and that's what we do here in Kentucky. Caucuses and primaries show which candidates are popular with voters and who might have the best chance of being elected president. The first primary is held in New Hampshire in the winter before the presidential election. I'd sure like to visit there, but I'd have to bundle up. It would be cold there. In the summer before the election, the political parties announce their candidate for president. The major parties make this announcement at meetings called conventions. Each state sends delegates to this convention. Delegates vote for the candidate who was the most popular in their state. A convention looks like a big celebration full of cheering and chanting, balloons and confetti. Millions of Americans watch the excitement on TV. By the time of the convention, everyone usually knows which candidate will be chosen, but the delegates still have a vote. If my party chose me to run for president, I'd make a speech to get everyone excited about helping me win. I'd tell the American people about my platform, my plans and ideas for our country. My running mate would make a speech too. That's the person who would be my vice president if I became president. Now we have a new person telling his story, and this is Sam, who is now narrating. If I ran for president, I'd be invited to debate with other presidential candidates. A person called a moderator would ask us questions. People across the country would listen carefully to our answers. Reporters would ask me questions too, about my life, my family, even my kitten, Sassy. I would vote for him because he has a cat, and I like cats. No, that's not the reason I would vote for him. They'd print old photographs of me in newspapers and magazines, like the snapshot of me in my superhero costume, or my baby picture when I still wore diapers, because we would want to know what that person's life has been like all along. Here's a new person. This is Claire. We can find Claire's picture back here. If I ran for president, I would travel the country to meet lots of people. I'd have my own campaign bus or airplane to take me from place to place. Inside, there'd be comfy seats, perfect for checking out the news, writing speeches, and thinking about how to solve the nation's problems. I'd take naps, too. I'd need the extra rest. I'd work hard and be very busy. All in 1 week, I might share cereal with kindergartners in California, crunch corn with farmers in Kansas, and have dinner in Delaware, where I'd order the Blue Plate Special with apple pie and a large strawberry milkshake. After all that food, I might not feel too well. Still, I'd have to smile and talk with the people I met. Presidential candidates make lots of speeches, shake hands, and cuddle babies. And there she is, holding a baby that's crying. All right, our next person here is Marco. Finally, in November, Election Day would arrive. If I ran for president, I'd be nervous and excited. And we have a map of the United States here with Alaska and Hawaii, and then all of the states that they call the contiguous states, those that are attached, touching each other. And there's Kentucky right there. On Election Day, millions of voters from across the country go to their polling places to cast their ballots. That's another way to say they vote. In our country, people vote in private. No one but you knows how you voted. But I know I'd choose my favorite candidate, me. Marco's going to vote for himself. Once the voting is finished, officials count up the ballots. Then comes the announcement on television, radio, in the newspapers, and on the internet. People everywhere find out who will be the next president of the United States. I'd stay up late and keep my fingers crossed. There was an election in 1948 where the newspapers printed who they thought was going to win. And when people woke up the next morning, the other person had won. And there are famous pictures of Harry Truman holding up a picture of a newspaper saying that Thomas Dewey had won, when in fact he did not. So you have to wait and get the official word before you start telling who won. Now here is our last person, and this is Ashley. If I ran for president and lost, the people who worked so hard on my campaign would be disappointed. I'd be disappointed too. Still, I'd be proud that I had taken part in a free and fair election. I'd make a telephone call to offer my best wishes and my support to the winner, our next president. But if I won, wow! On January 20th, I'd say the words of the oath of office and be sworn in as president. On that day, my inauguration day, there'd be a parade and a fancy ball, a big party and dance. Then I'd move into the White House in Washington, D.C. to begin my 4-year term as the President of the United States of America. And what would I do when I became president? Well, that's another story. And that is if I ran for president.